Alright, so this is my male mage breakdown. It's gonna be just like the female mage one, except I'm doing all the subclasses because I actually like them. So we're gonna get into just default stuff about him first. His movement is unremarkable. It's fine. He's a guy. He does things. One thing he does have that no other class in this game has is teleport. It has a pretty short cooldown, like 1.5 seconds, and it goes surprisingly far. You can pass through things. It's pretty good. I like it a lot. His auto combo fires these orbs, so he doesn't really have any like default melee attacks for normals. There is a bit of a physical hitbox to it, actually, if you're super close up, but it doesn't do any damage compared to, so it doesn't really make a difference. But actually 3 out of the 5 of his subclasses change these orbs to something else, so you will see them less often despite being the default. This is his air attack, fires 2, and his dash attack is this kind of melee explosion. You can combo into launcher, fun approach tool, I like it. The orbs also track into the enemy's vertical position to an extent, but it causes you to miss sometimes. So you can kind of juggle with them, but you see how that second one just totally missed because it tried to go high. So hopefully they fix that, if that's a thing. The launcher you just saw, really fast, big hitbox, it's called Swift Strike. And unlike F Mage's launcher, it's armored even when you do it outside of Wake Up. So that's fun, it's pretty good, I like it a lot. Everyone uses this, it's great. One of my favorite launchers just in this game in general. He also has... Everyone can use this skill. This is rapid fire. He stands in place and fires 4 of these orbs. 5? I think it's 5. Yeah, it's 5. I don't know why I thought it was 4. But even if you're playing a class that doesn't have these orbs as their normals, you can still use rapid fire like that. So that's a fun zoning tool. You can use it in juggles because it kind of just holds them in place. That was a bad example. Another universal gimmick he has, I want to put a disclaimer before this. This is a mechanic in PvE. It used to be in PvP, one-time usage only, but now it's completely disabled. Like, it doesn't happen in PvP at all. So this may not make it into Duel, but I wanted to note it just in case it does. It's kind of an important thing. Basically, he has immortality, so I'm going to end my own life here using an ancient DFO secret. You see, I fall to the ground invulnerable and I come back, and if you look at my percentage of HP in the bottom, I'm recovering it back slowly over time. So while you're in this sort of recovery state, if you die for real and you won't resurrect. You take more damage while it's happening, and yeah, you can't heal from any other sources, so like potions don't happen, but you probably don't really need to know that. Yeah, in dungeons, most of the time you don't really ever die as this character, which is hilarious and overpowered. In PvP it used to just be an annoying thing, because he would revive and the animation would be so long that you would just hit him with literally anything when he wakes up, but sometimes it would be useful and really change things for you. So, getting on to just some basic skills. He doesn't really have very many, especially compared to F Mage, so this will go pretty quick. This is Water Cannon. It is a big projectile, and it knocks down, and you will never combo out of this, because it's so incredibly slow. But, you know, it's there. Trap Strike is a command grab. Pretty simple. You can go into... If I can hit her, she's dodging so well. You can go into Launcher usually, but I think I'm not using a fast enough weapon. There you go. Ice Sword is that. It's just a 3-hit move. You do all 3 hits, can't really cancel it or anything. This is generally a combo ender. It hits OTG pretty well, and it knocks down too far away to combo with anything outside of the corner, I've found. And this is probably my personal favorite. This is Flame Shield. So you can release this immediately if you want, or you can hold on to it. And this absorbs projectiles that hit you during it, so it's a fun defensive thing that he has, and the projectile itself knocks down. And this on its own is kind of just like an objectively better zoning tool than Water Cannon, but the reason I think it's so interesting, I can't really show you this right here, but in PvP it's been modified to make the projectile portion move very slowly and hit multiple times instead of just kind of going through and only ever doing it once. So you can actually use it as a juggle tool by kind of going like that, and they'll bounce along the top of it as it moves, and it's really funny. Not all that useful, but I like it. And the last move to talk about, this one is not very cool or interesting at all. It's probably not worth talking about, but this is Ghost Flame. It's a defense improving buff. And you get these two little flames. It lets you re-input the skill to shoot the flames out as little projectiles like that. But it's kind of bad. And by kinda, I mean like very. You also cannot shoot the flames while doing other attacks. So it's just like really awkward. And they don't combo into themselves, so it just kind of sucks for everything but quick pokes. You could start combos with it if you want. I don't know. So that's default. And now we're going to move on to Glacial Master. Alrighty, so this is Glacial Master. He is a kind of hybrid zoning and rushdown character. I'd say he's pretty well-rounded, honestly. He has tools for most different situations, but he kind of relies on RNG a bit because he relies a bit on getting lucky for his skills to freeze the enemy. Like, for example, that move didn't there, but yeah, he puts enemies into this freeze state where you can just hit him with anything you want and just get a lot of hits. But it's not always very consistent, and that could change in the fighting game. It's really hard to say. There's other characters in this game that can freeze, but Glacial is the one who really makes it his thing, I guess. He has no special movement, just he teleports though, so that's always worth noting because teleport is good. His auto combo is different. It's one of the melee ones, has the shortest range. It's this 3-hit here, does that, and notably, even the first hit pops the enemy into the air, so you can begin juggles really, really easily. The third hit kind of knocks them a little bit far away, which isn't always bad, but usually what you end up doing is canceling after the second hit. And you can juggle really easily that way. The air and dash attack are all changed, but it's mediocre and not, like, worth anything. That's all he has. So, he has two ways of freezing without attacking, otherwise there's just a chance for almost all of his skills to do it. So there's Frozen Soul, which is a passive. You can see there's this aura at the enemy's feet, and I believe it disables if I get far enough away, but it has a pretty big range in this game. Essentially, see? It just freezes them over time. It kind of, it acts on a timer. I don't know how long it takes, but that's a thing. He also has a buff called Path of Frost. So everywhere I walk is going to put this frost on the ground. It slows anyone who's standing on it, and it decreases their freeze tolerance. So all of my skills are going to be more likely to freeze if they're in the frost, and Frozen Soul happens faster. You'll notice, maybe, if I'm lucky. Yeah, there you go. I'm going to be disabling the freeze for most of this showcase just because it's kind of annoying and messes up combos sometimes. So, skill rundown. That Ice Sword move that I just showed you on the default M Mage now becomes Crystal Blade. So this is an armored move, deals 2 hits, and it has this sort of like vacuum effect where it sucks them into this very specific range in front of you. It's very good, and the fun thing about Crystal Blade is that you can cancel it into any other skill that Glacial Master has on hit. So I can do that. I can do, let's see, even after just the first hit there. There's a lot of options here. It's pretty silly. You use it in combos. It's really great. Love Crystal Blade. Stan Crystal Blade. Ice Lance, this is fun. Normally it only goes that far. This is a multi-hit. And, what to say, you can change the travel distance. So if I hold back, I don't move much at all. If I hold forward, I go pretty far. And because it's armored during the startup only, not the second half, why am I comboing? You can kind of use it to approach or move around in fancy ways. But really, this is mostly just a combo tool because it has that great kind of property of holding them in the air. So we love Ice Lance. You can also cancel Ice Lance into, not any skill like Crystal Blade, but you can cancel Ice Lance into Windmill Spear, which is the next move here. This is another multi-hit, and it has a projectile at the end, which is fun for zoning. In particular, I have a modified version of this move because I'm too high level and I can't get rid of it, but this is the original. So it actually has 2 projectiles, and it does lock you in place for longer. Who knows what version it will get in, but they're functionally about the same in how you use them. It does push back on hit against grounded opponents, so you generally want to use this as a part of your juggle, or else you're gonna be at an awkward range that he doesn't necessarily want to be at. And Broken Arrow. This is a zoning combo and approach tool, very good move. So you shoot 4 arrows by default, and they have a surprisingly good hit stun. You can combo them into each other, of course, and if you press the input again, after the last arrow, you dash to the enemy that you hit with the arrow, and do this kind of launching attack that you can combo into absolutely anything at all. So the finishing attack is optional, you don't have to do it, and if you miss or just don't really like the move, you can cancel by pressing jump. So that was just 1 arrow there. And yeah, Broken Arrow, very good. Next one, you've seen it a couple times already. This is Grand Shatter. It's my favorite. You're armored during the whole time. Does super high damage up close because it depends on how many shards hit. If I'm far away, it doesn't do quite so much, but it's still like, it's good. You can't really walk through it. It's very good for combos because it holds enemies in the air again, and otherwise it's just a zoning tool. You can cancel it with jump, but I find that you don't really usually need to. Ice Crash. This is a grab. Has crazy corner carry. You can adjust how far it goes, so it actually can go that far. I find this very hard to use in juggles, so I don't combo with it very often. It's more of a combo ender, if anything, because it kind of just pops them onto the ground at this awkward distance where you can't do a whole lot, really. And it's also, it has the annoying property of, let me freeze this guy. Maybe. It'll happen eventually. It just goes through frozen opponents, you don't grab them, so it doesn't always work when you want it to, which frustrates me endlessly in PvP especially, but is what it is. Now this move I really like a lot. This is Ice Hammer. So it is armored during the dash and attack and startup. You can adjust the trajectory as you want, so I can do it in place. I can just go forwards. It kind of homes in a little bit if it detects that there's an enemy near you. Another fun thing is that if you double tap the input, you actually skip the charge time and jump, and the slam happens pretty much instantly, which is very good and useful in combos. You can do things like that, because otherwise you kind of have to... I didn't set up into it because the charge is so slow, but it doesn't have to be, so that's really fun. And Ice Hammer is even better than Crystal Blade in terms of cancels because you can cancel into Ice Hammer out of any move. So that was Broken Arrow, which doesn't have any special cancels, into Hammer. You can also cancel out of it, like that, into anything. So that's really fun. I like this move a lot. You use it in combos, you use it to approach and escape and everything, really. Ice Trap is a little gimmicky. Despite what the name may imply, it doesn't actually freeze. That was the wrong version, ignore that. Okay, so Ice Trap looks like this. Pretty slow startup, but if they get caught in this pentacle, then they're frozen and have to take all the hits. There's no way of escaping it. It's armored during the startup and duration, so it's kind of a reversal sometimes, but it's such a slow one that it doesn't really work how you want it to. You have some control over the target location. That's how far out it'll go. You can't cancel the move early like other things, so it's pretty risky in terms of things that Glacial Master has, but you can super easily combo after it with literally any move. Launcher is easiest. There's an alternate version of this called Pinpoint Rush, which gets rid of the targeter. It's just kind of a dash, and if you hit it, it does that. Totally free combo after this. It's super fast and good. The main reason that you would want to use Ice Trap over Pinpoint Rush is because Ice Trap deals AoE, but in a 1 versus 1 fighting game, I feel like this is probably just better. So we'll see how that goes. And the last one, this is the only move Glacial has where he's guaranteed to freeze the enemy. You are invulnerable during the whole thing, and it's called Blizzard Storm. So I like this move a lot. Obviously it's huge, and the initial like pentacle creation is what does the freeze. So if you get that, you're gonna get all the hits. It pulls them in close to you. You can link into whatever the hell you want. Go nuts, honestly. The startup is pretty dang slow though. It's a lot slower in PvP than it is here. So you have to work pretty hard to use it in a combo. Honestly, I usually use it by just like running up and just doing it. So that's all of the moves of note. So I just want to show, in Duel we know that there's kind of this universal special to special canceling mechanic. We don't know exactly how it works, but Glacial has this kind of specific tree that you end up doing because Crystal Blade can link into anything. Windmill Spear can only cancel into Ice Lance, so and Ice Lance can't cancel into anything but Ice Hammer. So what I end up doing most of the time is Crystal Blade, Windmill, Ice Lance, Hammer, and that's a really simple combo. You can do other things after that, but that's kind of like the typical chain that you go for. So that's Glacial Master. Okay, so it is time for the Elemental Bomber. This is a very heavy zoner character. Probably doesn't really have a lot of mix, I would say, but his damage output and space control is crazy. He has very free-flowing combos because basically everything combos into basically everything else he has. It's pretty silly. So he does keep the orbs for his attacks. I would say it's kind of his main thing almost. His only real like buff skill that's worth mentioning is called Elemental Shift, so it opens up this selector window and you can pick any of the elements with a direction. I'm going to choose Ice, and now my orbs look like this. They technically now deal ice damage in the game. They used to, all the different elements had different properties, but now they don't. They're kind of all the exact same other than how they look, which is strange, but I think maybe they would change that or bring back some of the old things, because there used to be this kind of interesting choice that you would make about what element for what situation. So he really likes the orbs. There's also Magic Cannon, which is a big orb. You can charge this up by hitting any skills. There's an indicator in the bottom left of the screen. It's 0 right now. Basically, ignore all these things I'm about to do, but anytime you hit with a skill, you get 1 charge for this. You can hold up to 5, and it just increases the damage that Magic Cannon does and makes it a little bit bigger. So that was 256 with max charges, and this is 189. You can cancel Magic Cannon into your auto combo or rapid fire. So pretty easy to use in combos. And so that's Elemental Bomber's gimmick, but there's actually a second one which is arguably way better and cooler. It is essentially just total freedom with special to special canceling. And like I said, Duel already seems to have this sort of cancel with every character shown so far, so I'm unsure about how they'll make this character stand out, but we'll just have to wait and see. So I'm going to show you the speed of this character and his moves when I don't have Elemental Bombardment, just to really drive home how much he needs it. So I'm going to do 2 skills in order as fast as I can, Dark Zone and Lightning Wall. That was me absolutely mashing the buttons, and now I'm going to level Elemental Bombardment and do it again. So this changes a lot. You can actually cancel out of the cast time there. You notice I started charging Dark Zone, but then went into Lightning Wall before Dark Zone even happened, so there is an element of timing where you want to initiate the cancel right after the attack actually comes out, or else sometimes you just end up doing nothing in combos for a little bit. And most of his skills will still have the effect take place even after canceling to another one early. So this is Infernal Road. I'm doing this kind of animation the whole time, but if I cancel into Dark Zone, then the fire keeps going without me having to command it or anything like that. So onto skill breakdown. Infernal Road I just showed you. This is a crazy long range launcher and combo starter. It does everything you want it to do. How high it launches kind of varies a little bit, I've found. You can cancel the long casting time like I already showed you. It's mainly the first skill you want to use in combos because it enables everything else hitting. So I can go into all these things pretty much just because I used Infernal Road. Crystal Crash, this is in my opinion a combo filler move. It pushes enemies pretty far away, so it helps make space. The animation of mine is different because my character's too high level. The original looks like this. I think this could be an overhit. It might not be. I have really no idea. But yeah, not a whole lot to say about Crystal Crash. Most of Elemental Bomber's moves are honestly really simple. It's just about how many you can throw out in such a short amount of time. So I've already shown this. This is Dark Zone. It's an armored reversal type move. It's you can use it in a lot of ways. If you hold forward during it, it turns into a laser, which is a fun alternative. It kind of pulls airborne enemies quickly downward, which is both a good and a bad thing, because you don't really juggle with it, but sometimes you want them to be on the ground. Chain Lightning is a homing move that is obviously really hard to miss, but it doesn't have hit stun normally and leaves you vulnerable while using it. I have an upgraded version. This is what it does originally. You kind of just end up using this in the middle of combos while all of your other moves are keeping them in hit stun and in the air and stuff like that. The alternate variant is just like a projectile that I don't have to act while doing it, or it doesn't like keep me stuck. Crystal Storm is, you use it very similar to Infernal Road. The common combo you see is Infernal into Crystal Storm. It can freeze like Glacial Master does, and it leaves you able to act after creating it without any cancels, which is good. Not much else to say about it. Flame Circle, you're armored during the whole duration like Dark Zone. It's huge and fucked up, in my opinion. This is a good move to throw out when close up. You can sometimes combo after this final explosion into Launcher, or just go into literally any other move. So Flame Circle is very good, and actually you can send it forwards by holding forwards. That's zoning, set play, you know, all the things. You can act sooner without a cancel. Lightning Wall is insane and not okay. So it does that. Of course, it has a hitbox when you first create it, and then will pierce through anything in its path. It goes to the edge of the stage, no matter where you are. And I imagine in a 2D game, this would probably need to be nerfed. It has this special stun, which makes it really easy to use in combos. I fucked it up, though, of course. So that's a simple thing. Darkness Mantle. This is basically Elementalist's Black Hole move, but in my opinion worse. It still has this vacuum effect, but it doesn't deal any damage until the very last explosion there. Even like this cracking animation that you see the orb do, none of that deals damage, it's just the end, it's one single hit. So to me this is best used as a vortex in the middle of combos to keep the enemy from falling out of further attacks, because you kind of know where they are and everything you have will hit them. So it's a setup tool. It's very slow on its own, but good in the middle of things. And Elemental Rain, this is the last move. It looks super cool. This is basically a combo ender, but not quite always, if you're close enough. It's one of the only things that you can't directly cancel into other skills because you're in the air and he can't do anything in the air. So yeah, that's Elementalist, or Elemental Bomber. And just to show you, he can just use everything, and I want to show you how fast he can do it. And that was just using every single skill on my hotbar only once. So do with that what you will. His game plan is pretty much just throw things out and zone forever until he gets charges for Magic Cannon, and then use Magic Cannon. It will hurt. Alright, so Blood Mage is Very different from the other M Mages, I would say. He's a full rushdown character who actually cannot use a lot of the default M Mage things you've seen. So his auto attack, he doesn't have the orbs, his air attack and dash attack. These are all huge, by the way. Holy shit. He has a lot of potential mix-ups and set play type pressure, but has to manage his resources very carefully. You'll see a little bit more about that. In my opinion, he has the potential to be really, really busted top tier. So his auto combo is this 4-hit melee attack with surprisingly good range. The 3rd hit knocks down and the 4th hit kind of bounces them. It looks like it could be an overhead at the end there. It also juggles really well, and the dash attack is an incredible combo starter because the range is great, it helps juggle, it does everything you want it to do. The jump attack is almost even worth using because it's so incredibly large and fast. So Blood Mage can't teleport. That's actually just a thing in the skill tree, like it just disappears, it's not there anymore. But what he does have is an alternative called creeping. So if I get rid of the enemies, it looks like this. Still looks like a teleport, but you'll notice I switched the direction I'm facing. And if there is an enemy around me, I teleport behind them. Pretty much no matter where I am. There is a bit of a range limit to it, but it has a pretty big range. It loses a lot of the directional options you have from teleport, but not really a problem. You can also use it in the air to teleport behind them. So something you can do is that jump attack, teleport behind, do things, fun side switch, cross up potential. I like it a lot. And what's next? Oh yeah, okay. So his actual gimmick is this resource called Sanguinem, or Blood. I'm gonna call it Sanguinem because that makes more sense to me. It basically replaces his MP. He still technically has MP, but everything he has uses so little that it doesn't really matter. Sanguinem is the important thing. It's percentage based, and almost all his skills use Sanguinem. They either restore it for him or they deplete it. And I'm going to actually get rid of all of mine really quick to show you a fun thing about it. So, if you're out of Sanguinem, you can see in the bottom right it says 0, and you use an attack that uses it, it instead costs HP. But you can do it. There's not any like technical limit. I haven't tested if I can die yet, so I'm actually kind of curious. Oh, yeah, okay. Well, you'll find out later in the game. So you can restore Sanguinem with any of his normals. You see there's these little blood orbs going to me. Launcher works as well, air attack, whatever you need, but it doesn't really give you a lot from those. The thing that really helps is absorption skills. So I'm just going to use a bunch of these, and you'll see all of these orbs flying to me. All absorption skills give Sanguinem back over time after the first hit, so it's never a quick thing and you have to wait for it. For example, this is Liliac. It restores 10% Sanguinem, but it has this 3.5 second duration where you gain the Sanguinem back. It's not ever instant. Basically just watch the little orbs. So onto skills. We're going to do the absorption skills first. So like I said, this is Liliac. I have an upgraded version which looks like this. Normally it's much simpler. Kind of a fireball situation, and it keeps them in hit stun for a while. It's pretty common combo filler. Good for lockdown, decent zoning tool, but you don't really need to zone as this character. It doesn't give a lot of Sanguinem, but it helps, and it's just like really quick to throw out, so why not? And Lilroy. This is ridiculous. It restores 3 times as much Sanguinem as Liliac. It locks down forever. You can use this to combo into any other move in the entire game. You probably, honestly, even have time to exit the match, switch characters, and start a new one before this ends. It's great for everything, and also, in particular, I like it to extend juggles because it kind of makes this slow fall effect happen. Helberis gives the same amount of Sanguinem as Lilroy, which I just showed. It's this. It's a grab move that holds them in place for a really long time. Anything you hit them with won't, like, interrupt this. You can kind of just get free hits. It's a lot like Glacial Master's Freeze, actually, in terms of how you use it. Restands, so it's always going to end with the opponent on the ground there. And then this skill restores the most Sanguinem of any of his skills. It's called Soul Steal. So I can do whatever I want while that's active. It also lasts for a very long time. You'll find that's a common theme here. It shrinks over time, but it kind of pulls you in on the first hit. You just set it and forget it, really. So every other skill he has uses Sanguinem. So, Blood Wings. This is just a approach combo tool. You can go straight into auto attacks, whatever you want. It doesn't cost very much Sanguinem. It's a good movement tool for when you don't want to teleport behind the opponent. You can also use it in the air like a dive kick. It has different angles, so that was the forwards. That wasn't supposed to go back. That's the shortest you can go. Fun move. Not too simple, or not too complex, really, at all. It is what it is. Offering. This is a bread and butter combo tool. You use this all the time. I'd say it has a medium cost. So it's this hit grab, and after a while you slam them back down into the ground and they bounce. Or you can just do it instantly by pressing the button. And it's super easy because you can just go straight into launcher, whatever you want. It picks up airborne opponents, it picks up grounded opponents. There's nothing wrong with this. You can combo into so many things. It's perfect. I love it. Shikari is a really fun move. I would say this has potential to be a low. It's hard to say. It costs 20% Sanguinem, which is... it's getting up there a little bit. You mainly use this for OTG hits or as a kind of combo starter. But it has a fun secret, actually, that I don't see people use very much. If you hold back during the startup of it, the attack delays and the spikes go backwards. So instead of pushing the opponent away, it now pulls them to you. This has a lot of applications, of course, for timing mix-ups and stuff, but my favorite one that could be in a fighting game is using backwards Shikari into the teleport for a sort of side switch. I fucked it up. Okay. So pretty much just switching sides in the middle of them blocking, and they have to be ready for it, essentially. Fang, this move is pretty self-explanatory. It costs 30% Sanguinem. Yeah. It does a bit of a knockdown, so you can go into a really high launcher from it. It's pretty self-explanatory, honestly. Fun set play like everything else Blood Mage has. Torment, this is... yeah, this one. This is mainly a combo finisher move, I find, and it hits OTG, but it pulls them to the ground so quickly at the end that you can't really go into anything super crazy. Has crazy high damage and Sanguinem cost. It also pops grounded opponents into the air, so you always get a hard knockdown if you want to do fun OP things or whatever on Wake Up. And this next one is, in my opinion, one of the coolest non-awakening skills in the game. It's called Corruption. So it's just a dash, normally, but if you hit it... boom. I love it. So this costs a lot of Sanguinem. It costs 40%, which is significantly more than anything else, but it restores 60% if you hit it, making this a net gain. But if you miss, it's pretty bad. You don't really want to miss it. It forces a side switch. You end up behind the opponent afterwards, and you can go into launcher there, like you saw. You can totally combo from it super easily. The struggle is generally just comboing into it because of the startup. In PvE, it's pretty easy. For example, I did it too fast there, but in PvP the startup of the move is a lot slower, so it's kind of, you win some, you lose some. This move is so cool, and that's all for Blood Mage, really. Okay, so Swift Master is next, and I know I said Blood Mage could be a busted top tier. Swift Master could honestly break the game. He's incredibly good in PvP in this game, and I think in a game with directional blocking, it's not going to be okay, so let's get into it. He's just like Blood Mage in that he's this kind of hard rushdown character with lots of mix-up potential. So some generic changes. Let me get some goblins in here. The attack is a melee attack again. This is the last of the three that you're going to see. It is a multi-hit. If this deals chip damage, that would be fucked up. It hits OTG really well. That's the strength of this that Blood Mage doesn't have. That was a bad example. But yeah, it also kind of restands a little bit. And his launcher has this fun thing where not only is it a launcher, but if you press attack during it, you do a second one, which launches higher and deals more damage. So he juggles really well. And if you thought that 2 launchers wasn't enough, he actually has another one. So his dash attack is now a multi-hit drill. And if you press attack again, you Gatling into like a mini launcher. So you can pretty much juggle forever with this against lighter enemies than this. But if you can combine this with the actual launcher, which has a cooldown, then you can just use your normals and absolutely nothing else. You don't need any specials to do this, and just juggle forever. So Swift Master is really fun. It gets worse, don't worry. So he doesn't, I guess I just want to say, he doesn't have to wait for his launcher's cooldown, which is something that a lot of other characters struggle from, because that's your main like juggle condition. You can just, you always have one. Yeah, I think so too. So, Swift doesn't really have any genuine gimmicks other than how good he is, so it's time for skills. This is Sonic Move. For starters, you can cancel literally anything, normals and specials, into this, so keep that in mind. I can do this. I can do that. It's just a simple single-hit dashing move that goes through enemies for side switch shenanigans. You can go left or right. If you use it in the air, it's a dive kick. And after the first usage, there's a 3-second timer that starts, where you can input the skill again, and then it resets the timer and you can do it again. So you get several different uses. I think it's 3, right? Yeah. So you get 3 Sonic moves, and you can wait up to 3 seconds between each one, but you don't have to. And you're totally fine to use any move you want in between them. Like, do literally anything. It's very creative and free-flowing. That's what I really like about this character. And also, because this wasn't good enough already, not only can you cancel anything into this, you can cancel it into anything. So, yeah. On to normal attacks. This is Northern Wind. Pulls them in, pretty simple attack. I got nothing really to say about this. It's just combo filler. You can do whatever you want with it. Headwind. This move is a little bit cracked. It's a pull-in type move. Does a multi-hit, and it pulls faster the opponent is from you, so when you're super close up, it doesn't really do a whole lot other than damage. However, it actually has the same properties of Sonic Move, where you can cancel any move into it. You can cancel out of it with any move, including Sonic Move, of course. So combining this with Sonic Move lets you do pretty much anything you want at any time cancel-wise, because you can just do like one tick of this and then go into something else. It's almost like a Kara, because with Sonic Move, you can cancel it into anything, but you're still always going to get the move no matter what you do. Headwind is literally just, you can Kara cancel into anything you want. And it's really fun. I like it a lot, but it's not okay, respectfully. It also restands airborne opponents. So you can kind of reset combos that way, in case you need that for whatever reason. Wind Blaster, it's just a simple damaging move. It has a pretty long recovery, but of course that doesn't matter, because you can just press buttons after it. Twister, this is a zoning tool, I would say. It moves pretty fast, quite big, hard to jump over. It stops moving on hit, so it will stick and do a little multi-hit. I think it does more if you're... No, it always does 3 hits once it connects, it looks like. So this is not a great spot to be in against a class that can jump on you from miles away, because reminder, I have teleport and also 3 of these, which I can use that fast. So Twister is really scary. I usually just use it to add damage to the middle of combos. You can do a lot of stuff with that. Sweeping Wind is another projectile. It's much faster than Twister. I like to use it by canceling into Headwind. So even if I land this at almost full screen... Oh cool, a combo, right? Not much else to say about that move. Razor Wind. This move is fun. It teleports to the opponent and automatically does this. I'm not sure how you block that. There's a lot of side switching shenanigans, possibly an overhead, who knows. It could end up being a command grab. I really I really don't know. You can only teleport to them when you're pretty close to the enemy. Like if I'm here I can't do it, but now I can. Get a full combo out of it though. Yeah, it's also armored the whole time, which is hilarious. This is Eye of the Storm. It's another pole style attack. This launches really high and is fun because you can go into anything. And you can actually cancel this move into Razor Wind, the one that we just talked about. I don't think that's really necessary, but you can. What's next? Oh, okay. This is Relentless Biting Wind. I'm gonna let it speak for itself. Yeah. And if you cancel into something, the tornado keeps attacking. So more cross-up shenanigans. Imagine doing this on block. That's not okay. And then last move he has is Storm Strike. It is a big punchy attack. I don't know why that didn't knock down. It's supposed to. Maybe he's standing up too fast. You can hold forwards to move further with it. Normally you just stand in place. It's overall pretty slow for Swift Master standards, but you should be able to cope, because you can just... Oh, that was an accident. Yeah. Do whatever you want, basically. That's the Swift Master motto. But okay, I'll save this for the combo showcase. Okay, so this is Dimension Walker. I have cosmetics on that make me look like a K-pop boy, and I think it's hilarious. This is a very strange character. I would say he's probably my actual least favorite to play in DFO, mostly just because he's so much harder than the other M Mages. But I really want to see him in the fighting game because I think he would be very cool and unlike anything we've ever seen. He's hard to describe. He combines a lot of different archetypes in weird ways, and he's also... he's the hardest to play, I already said that. He has aspects of zoning. He is kind of a puppet character, has all this resource management stuff, and is just pretty dang gimmicky. Like, there isn't any move he has that doesn't have some weird gimmick to it, to be honest. I would say his best ability is he can spend resources and hit or combo you from absolutely anywhere on the stage, no matter how far away he is. Once he has you under this pressure, it's very hard to get out, and, like, you can't dodge him, I guess. So he has the orbs, like Elemental Bomber. They're purple for some reason, but they work the exact same way, so you don't really need to worry about that. His default stuff is all the same, but just purple. So yeah. He uses a broom as his weapon, which is fun, but it doesn't get any of the cool broom stuff, which does, so we're not going to worry about it. The default Ghost Flame buff also looks different now, and it gives you more defense, except you don't have the ability to fire them as projectiles anymore. So it's somehow even less exciting, and don't worry about it, basically. So onto his gimmick. There's a lot of vocab here, so please bear with me. His gimmick is the Distortion Gauge, which you can see in the bottom left here. It's this bar that's like a little bit over halfway full right now. And to the right of that, you can see this little crystal, and it says I have 3 of them. Those are called Dimension Stones. Every time the Distortion Gauge fills up, you get 1 Dimension Stone, and you do this by landing your orbs or any skill. So now I have 4, and you see the bar kind of reset. By default, you can only hold up to 5 at a time, but I have cool levels and I can get more. Essentially, all his skills are split into one of 2 categories. There's Divergence skills. These are skills related to his various summons, and they're totally unaffected by the Distortion Gauge. So, for example, this is a summon, and that doesn't actually give me any gauge when I hit it. And I cannot use Dimension Stones to enhance it, you'll see in a second. Dimension skills are everything else. These are all his main attacks affected by Distortion Gauge, so this is one of them. For example, you can see my gauge goes up when I use this and hit it. It doesn't work on whiff, notably. That's important. So, you use Dimension Stones for one of 2 things. The first thing, and honestly probably the less important one, is called Dimension Leap. So normally this is a backwards teleport with a big explosion. As you can see, it stuns the enemy for a little while on hit. And I need a specific enemy here to show you. So, this is just kind of a move. It's not like super interesting. It does stun the enemy if you hit it. However, if I have a Dimension Stone and I get hit, I can use it to escape instantly. It's kind of like a burst and an invulnerable frame 1 tech at the same time, at the cost of a Dimension Stone. Reminds me a lot of actually a better version of Female Mage's Phase Shift, so that's fucked up. And the second thing you use Dimension Stones for is called Beyond This Realm. You can use this, you'll see a little icon show up on my head. There, that used 1 Dimension Stone just by itself, and it doesn't do anything actively. You can trigger it while doing absolutely anything other than getting hit, and what it does is it changes and empowers the next dimension skill you use with no time limit. So just as an example, this is the Beyond This Realm version of Dimensional Laser. Does what you think, and if I don't have Beyond This Realm active, it looks like that. So it doesn't necessarily make things stronger, but it changes how you use them a lot. And I'll show you all the different effects. So we're going to actually go over the divergent skills first because there's less and it should be quicker. So the first, this is where he becomes a puppet character, by the way. This is Nyarly. She's cute. We love her. Dimension Walker only gets this 1 main summon, really. It's not like Summoner where you have a ton of shit on screen at once. It's mostly just her. And she's pretty strong, but you don't control her very much. She attacks on her own. You can see she just has 2 attacks to use. One's a projectile and one is a melee whip. You don't control her at all. She just does what she wants. It's kind of annoying sometimes. She can be attacked and killed. So the way that you avoid this is by using tea time, which is a toggle. You see she has a little teacup effect on her. She follows you pretty closely. And during this, she doesn't attack, and she passively restores HP over time. At later levels, Nyarly is actually invincible during tea time, but I don't really know if that will stay in. Who knows? So Harlequin is actually the only move she has pre-awakening where you can control her. I'll show you without an enemy. So Nyarly teleports to you and dashes straight forwards, and if she collides with an enemy, then she does this big whip attack with the final hit as a knockdown. You can use Harlequin while you're in the animation of everything else and it will not interrupt it. So there I just did it during my auto combo for totally free. And yeah, Harlequin's really good. It's pretty crazy. Crawling Mist is another super important mechanic that he has. So you see there's this kind of purple goop around my feet. I can actually shoot it as a ground-only projectile. It doesn't deal any damage or hit stun. If I input it again, it comes back to me. And every time I use this, it actually costs me some HP, which is important. He has a couple things that cost him HP, and this is one of them. So this, in its own way, is a resource, I would say. I can also, just like Harlequin, I can do this while taking any other action. So you can set up into it really easily just during auto combo or this move, really anything at all that you want. And what it actually does is that when it's on the enemy, you deal more damage to them with everything you have, but it also changes how a few skills work. So for example, when I use Harlequin, Nyarly teleports to the enemy. She doesn't do the dash at all. No matter where they are, I can be totally off the screen, and you can hear her going crazy over there. So that is very good and important to understand about this character, is that he can just teleport things to you and it will hurt if he has Crawling Mist. The last Divergence move, it's kind of unrelated to everything else he has, but it does cost HP to cast. It's this, and every time it hits, you do gain some HP, so it's generally a net positive. This move is good. I don't have much else to say about it other than it's really good. Use it. So now for his dimension skills. This is the simplest one, it's called Accident. Looks like it could be an overhead, gives a tiny pop-up that you can combo into Launcher with pretty easily and start stuff. The Beyond This Realm version honestly isn't really worth using. It has a little vacuum effect where it sucks them in, so you're more likely to hit it, but I don't honestly think that's worth using a Dimension Stone on when you see the other ones. Next one is Silhouette. This is a projectile. It doesn't do a whole lot at all, but it goes pretty far and fast. Good for juggles, because it pops them back up a little bit. The Beyond This Realm version travels less distance, and it pushes enemies with it with a launching explosion at the end. This is, in my opinion, much better for combos. But still kind of like Accident, not too different or much better with the Beyond This Realm. Dimensional Laser I've already shown a couple times. This move you use all the time, bread and butter in your combos. Default version is great and does a ton of damage, and the Beyond This Realm is a big, fast laser that goes full screen with a knockdown. I like to use both these to set up into Crawling Mist really easily, because they give you time to do it, and it generally is only going to hit enemies when they're at the same angle as Crawling Mist will hit. Kaleidoscope is his next move. This one's a doozy. I have like a whole page of notes about it, because it basically has 4 versions. So, the default, it's an armored dash that ends with you teleporting back to your starting position. If you connect, it does this grab effect that does damage, they're stunned during it, and then it teleports you back to your initial location. So you can't always do anything after it in terms of combos if you started it far away, but if you're super close, then you can. What's next? So the Beyond This Realm version has a clone do the dash for you. And it's the exact same in terms of like how the attack works, but you don't do it yourself, so you're free to act however you want, use Crawling Mist, go crazy. But it does have the drawback of doing less damage when the clone does it. And the third version, fun surprise, is that if you have Crawling Mist active, you teleport to them without a dash. Again, has absolutely no range limit, just like Harlequin. And you do teleport back to where you were, so it's incredibly safe, but not super rewarding always. But if you do have Gnarly out, you can do this, and maybe get in for a couple extra hits, depending on how far away you are and all that. And then there's one last version, which is, in my opinion, incredibly unfair. So if you have Beyond This Realm and Crawling Mist active, then the clone teleports to the enemy and then does the attack for you. So there's no dash, you have no commitment yourself, because this clone can't get hit, by the way, either. It's just kind of an attack. So this move is very important. I think it's not okay, and it will probably define his kit if it stays the exact same way, but I like it. It's fun. Next up is Space-Time Explosion. Looks like this. 3 hits, big AoE, damage. You can hold it forward to make it go further, but even the closed version has a blind spot in front of you. It's interesting to use in combos because it doesn't juggle at all like you think it would. There's no knockdown involved, it just drags them down awkwardly, which will sometimes let them do a wake-up sooner. And the Beyond This Realm version has no initial hit, but it does a really strong explosion that does actually knock down. It requires cool setup to use in combos, but it's super rewarding when you do. Fun move. And then next is Dimensional Corridor. This move is really cool. The first attack, super simple, just a big single hit AoE, but it puts this ring debuff on the enemy that does a couple things. So all your attacks will restore more distortion gauge on hit, which is just, it's not really something that I notice very often, but it's always kind of there and helps a little bit. While the debuff is active, the second thing you can do is you can input Corridor again, and it will teleport them, dealing a second hit of damage this like kind of far away distance in front of you. So I can just take you over there, or take you over here. And it's very good. You can do the teleport literally whenever you want, so even while I'm doing other attacks like that. And it tends to interrupt enemies. If they're doing other things, it's really quite scary once you hit with this. Yeah, pretty good. I like it a lot. It's practically inescapable. The Beyond This Realm version isn't too different. The initial hit is the exact same, but then after the teleport it immobilizes them, so he can't move. I would say Corridor is one of the best ways for Dimension Walker to set up into other moves and do crazy mix-ups. The teleport sends them too far away to do a launcher, but you can do stuff like throw them into this. And it's a very creative move. So the last one that we're going to talk about is called Positron Blast. Lots of time to set up into Crawling Mist there, by the way. So this kind of just sucks them into that like middle orb you see. It does a lot of damage, but you're super armored and can't move during it. Pretty hard to combo after it, actually. You don't really have the means because it's so slow. However, Beyond This Realm has your clone do it for less damage. And then you can do absolutely anything you want, of course, as is typical. So it's a pretty cracked option. I would definitely spend your stones on this, because look at it. Why wouldn't you? Good move.